Alright, so we're on to our match number 8, coming in at 5 and 2 at the moment. We know opponents on Doomsday, as I'd seen him play a match against someone else on stream before. And I think we're going to keep this hand. Our last hand was garbage, it just didn't do anything. This hand we're probably going to bottom Street Wraith or... yeah. And probably, if we live through the turn, we'll hold up Flusterstorm. Then topping twice is not good for us. And unfortunately, opponent kind of has a little bit of an advantage here in that they're casting spells. So it's possible it was correct to preordain and just hope we don't die and maybe look for like a force of will. But I think we can afford to take a little bit of... I think we're able to afford to take one turn off that. And now we do need to preordain. And it's a little bit safer to preordain in our turn anyway. Because what we can do... like when we're preordaining last turn, we couldn't have used it to make a second land drop. And we would have left ourselves unprotected. We can then, on our turn, on our second turn, then we could preordain. Find our second land drop, hopefully. And then still have access to Flusterstorm. Unfortunately, we missed on the land, so we're now actually unprotected. But... this hand... but we do have a lot going on, so I think... so opponent now knows we're on Doomsday, or should have a fair inkling of that. They might think we're on like DPS or something, but I think, you know, the Merchant Scroll and the Flusterstorm really do point to us being Doomsday. So once again, we have to hope that they can't kill us this turn, and I think if we get anything that will let us use our Flusterstorm next turn as protection, then we are going to want to try to stick Necro. So opponent's DT'd. That probably means they're going to, I would assume, grab Doomsday. I'm not sure how much I like the Ancestral there, but anyway, that's fine. I don't know, once again, I don't know what's in their hand. And so now we've hit our next land drop, so we are going to probably do something like... how do we want to do this? So we could do something like DT for Lotus. Lotus lets us cast Time Walk and still hold up Flusterstorm. And then Merchant Scroll. Yeah, so we have mana. If we use Lotus, We have mana to Time Walk with protection. And if they don't counter the Time Walk, then we get to cast a Merchant Scroll and probably grab a Gush, I guess. And Time Walk is... Anybody who has never cast Time Walk with Necro, it's pretty absurd. It means we're going to get to draw... I don't know. I guess we'll draw probably 8 to 10 cards this turn, somewhere in there. So draw up to hand size and then a little bit extra. And then make a land drop next turn, cast any Moxen or anything like that. And draw again. We do need to preserve a little bit of life total, the main thing being that we want to be able to Doomsday and Force of Will, and we may need to consider a Street Wraith as well. So we've drawn 9 cards by the looks of it. And given opponent didn't Force of Will twice on our Time Walk, I think we're pretty safe to go off here. So what do we want to bin? We want to bin Force of Negation because that's not doing anything for us. We probably want to bin a Street Wraith. We can probably bin an Oracle. So we do have to be... Oh, so the one issue that we do have next turn is... Actually, no. Okay, this is fine. So I was just wondering. So we can hold up a Flusterstorm here. So we can't misstep and Fluster. We can't misstep and Street Wraith because I think this is going to have to be a Gush Pile. So we want a Gush Pile to draw like... Lotus... Yeah, Lotus Flusterstorm seems good. Or even Daze. Lotus Daze. So we're cycling to Gush. Gush will draw Lotus and Daze. And we get to do all of this with a Flusterstorm backup. So we can't use the peak while also holding up Fluster, I think. Actually, we can. But I don't think we're incentivized to. Because it doesn't play around misstep well. So I think we just leave the peak maybe just above the Oracle. Now we Gush. We're not going to get to replay any of our lands, but that doesn't actually matter. Lotus now with 2 counter spells as backup, and into our Oracle, and that will be the game. So we'll just board in Flusterstorm and Mindbreak Trap. We don't actually have, like, we're perfectly fine not boarding in like a Caracas or anything. They might play something like a Tasiga or something like that, I think we'd rather just try to ignore the Tasiga and kill them, if possible. Doesn't always pan out like that, but I think it's not an unreasonable plan. And we can just cut our standard kind of island street wraith that we've been doing for a lot of our blue matchups. We do want to keep the vamp in. This is a combo matchup, and we've finally worked that out. And opponents obviously just taking a little bit more time than us to consider their sideboard options. And this hand's fantastic. So we have Ancestral, we have Necro and Dark Ritual, we have Flusterstorm as protection, and we have Merchant Scroll to find. It might be a Gush or it might be a Dig Through Time, or it might even just be like a Force of Will or something, actually, given this hand. Either way, we are not incentivized to mulligan. Ancestral in your opening hand with a way to cast it is usually a pretty good start. They might end up being able to counter it, but I also think we just have enough other action in this hand that we're kind of okay if the Ancestral doesn't resolve. Opponent's got a hard mulligan decision. Now, as we're on the draw, we have to be a little bit choosier about when we try to resolve the Ancestral. So we kind of want to do it in opponent's turn when they're tapped out. As opposed to if you're on the play and you have it in your opener, I'm trying to, just jam it in their first upkeep. Okay, so we're a bit worried about a Necropotence there, to be honest, with the Black Lotus, or even a Doomsday. Oh, Dark Ritual. Okay, this can't be good. Doomsday, alright, well, never mind. They have a much better hand than us, despite the fact that our hand was amazing. I don't know whether or not they had a Flusterstorm as well. Or possibly a Force of Will to protect their Doomsday. They know they're against a blue deck, so then they know there is a chance of that. And in a second, we're going to get to see their entire library, and we're probably going to want to try to snapshot it, which is something I don't think we did in some of our earlier matches, and we definitely should have. When I say some of our earlier matches, I mean the earlier match where we played against the Doomsday Mirror. So we can see our opponent has... They did bring in Tasiga, and they have Juressus, and they have Ancestral Recall. So their hand's great. Uh, let the Ancestral resolve, just on the off chance they did something weird. And now we can concede. So now we know about Tassica and Duress. We've got to see if there's any changes we want to make. I don't think there are. I think it's just fine. The main card to consider would be the Caracas out of everything. But even then, I think it's boarding in one answer for one answer. Like the Chain of Vapor can already answer a Tassica to some extent. And this hand looks pretty good. We're not doing anything exciting with it just yet. But we have two counter spells. We have a Dark Ritual and we have a Demonic Tutor. I'll settle for that in most hands. So opponent's going to get to see what's up. And so, look, Dark Ritual's not an amazing draw here. But from this position, okay, so we can Dark Ritual, Demonic Tutor. I guess we could try and get a Necro in play. That's not bad. So Necro with double counterspell backup. That seems reasonable. And so having the Necro in play is going to put us very far ahead. So we don't actually want the Doomsday here because we can't win this turn with the Doomsday. Daze is coming in pretty clutch here. Opponent's got a second counter spell. Wow, and they have 3 counter spells. So we're both now down to just drawing basically off the top of our decks, I would imagine. I don't think we were ever going to play around triple counterspell. I don't think it's a particularly exciting place to be. I think, if they happen to have triple counter spells, they probably haven't drawn actual action. And I mean, also, look, 3 free counter spells as well, which is significant. And they've also pitched one of their oracles and a gush. So losing the gush could potentially be a little bit of a problem for them. It actually cuts off some Doomsday lines, which is a fairly significant thing. So opponent's casting a peak, so they'll get to see our one new card. And we'll just play out our mana. This will just hopefully mean that we'll draw like a Merchant Scroll or something soon. Thoughtseize is fine. They're going to take a Gush. I don't think that was a particularly exciting card for them to take. We can't cast it yet, and honestly, we probably don't want to do much with it yet. And Flusterstorm's not all bad. Flusterstorm means we can maybe try to beat... So if they manage to get Necro going, we're not going to manage to beat their Necro, but we can beat a Doomsday. So Force of Will now lets us beat a Necro as well. And they're drawing rather better than us, I think, overall at the moment. Yes, we've drawn some counter magic, but I think we'd rather draw some more proactive cards, such as the cantrips that they've drawn. It's nice to see them bottom two cards, though. Okay, cool. And now we can hold up Force Flusterstorm, so... Drawing the Oracle is not amazing here, but it's okay. So they may be considering about casting a Vampiric Tutor, which we're going to let resolve. I know traditional wisdom is you never counter the tutor, you counter what the tutor gets. I think it appears to have become less true with the existence of Mystic Sanctuary, but opponent also is still a land away from getting Mystic Sanctuary off anyway. So I think we're happy to just counter whatever he casts here. He's probably not grabbed a Necro, notably. The reason not to grab a Necro from this position is he doesn't actually have enough life total left to abuse it well. This looks like a dig through time. Which is a pretty easy Flusterstorm for us. And Doomsday's an alright draw here. We're still a ways off casting it, so we've used both our Dark Rituals. sorry, we've used 2 of our 4 Dark Rituals, I should say. So we've only got 2 left in the remaining 44 cards, and we've got a Lotus as well as another, fundamentally a ritual effect. So it's not that easy for us to cast at the moment. Not unless we start drawing some lands. We're drawing interaction at least. And a second Doomsday, so we can always run one out, get it counted, and then cast the next. Mindbreak Trap as well. So our hand's starting to get pretty stacked for when we do eventually need to fight. It's just we're still a long way off actually finding a way to win the game. Opponent's mana position is definitely considerably better than ours. So he's casting his Oracle here. Now, I believe this is his second Oracle of the game. Which means he probably doesn't actually have another Oracle left in his deck. So this is a little bit of a confusing play from my perspective. For him to be able to actually win now, he needs to either chip in for 16 points of damage, and I think we're likely to start drawing lands and cantrips before that happens, or he needs to somehow get the Oracle off the board. So it was nice that we drew a land, so we don't have to discard to hand size. I guess maybe they're on a Tasiga plan if they've dropped the Oracle out. So nicely, we're also like just one. I guess we're a fetch land away from getting a Gush Loop going, but I also don't think we're inclined to do that. I think we don't really want to get a Gush Loop going. I think if we can find a third fetch land, we actually just want to start casting Doomsdays. Triple black. We will not let that happen. We'll pitch our days. Oh, he cast a Sapphire this turn. Well, that's nice. Mindbreak Trap's a pretty good card here. So now, I guess we already knew he wasn't winning via Doomsday anyway, right? So Flusterstorm. And now we'll just work out what opponent has flustered. So there are 6 copies. So anybody who's never played much Magic Online before, Flusterstorm is a bit of a shambles to resolve. And you're going to see that here. Oh no, okay, we don't see that here, never mind. So he's put 1 Flusterstorm on our... Force of Will, And so we want to counter, we definitely need to counter the Necro. I wonder if maybe we just meant to leave Ancestral go. And if we can just hit like another black source, I think we just Doomsday. And we just ignore the fact that the Oracle's chipping in. We'll go to 5, and that gives us a bunch of time. Dark Ritual's perfect. We will take the Dark Ritual. Okay, so we've decided to play it a little bit safer. So the reason to do that would be we can actually just Doomsday and win next turn. And also, if a Doomsday happens to not resolve, thanks to the Dark Ritual, we still have a Preordain back. So we'll take something like Ancestral Recall. I guess we want like... So we need our Oracle. We need a Lotus. Or maybe we don't. So if we go Preordain into Ancestral... We could also Preordain into Time Walk here. Preordain into Time Walk actually seems like an interesting play. The reason being, we can then just Time Walk. So Preordain will bring us to 4 cards. Cast Time Walk, 3 cards left in library. Cast Ancestral. Draw Oracle, Force, Gush. And that should win us the game. Okay, so I've just decided to go for a greedier line here. This is just not playing around anything at all. That may or may not be correct. Opponent could have a Force of Will here. And we don't have the ability to redeploy a Doomsday. So I think we could have built that pile better, but doesn't matter. We've taken another match.